Good afternoon, and thanks for this opportunity to speak. The title of my talk is Interactions with Community Health Providers Following Discharge from Inpatient Rehabilitation, the Experience of Individuals with Spinal Cord Injury. Sounds quite a mouthful. Just want to start by saying a thank you to Hilda Mulligan. She's not here today, but she was my supervisor, and I just really valued her input, and she certainly challenged my thinking on many occasions. Joe, I might go back to that format that we had before, is that all right? I can see my notes, but it doesn't want me scrolling down. So why this topic? Look, Joe's already given a bit of background, but yeah, as a physiotherapist, I stumbled into working in spinal cord injury about 25 years ago, and it totally captured me. And so for the first half of that 25 years spent in the spinal unit setting, and then the latter part in the community. I completed a clinical master's through Otago University School of Physiotherapy in 2015. I guess for me, a clinical master's was kind of a perfect fit. It gave me a chance. I had a lot of clinical questions that had come up over the course of my clinical practice, and it sort of really gave me a chance to explore that and answer some of those questions. So for the master's portion of my, I'm just getting used to this format. For the master's portion of my study, I really looked at community reintegration I'm just getting those layouts slightly different than what I'm used to. So I looked at community reintegration. I guess working in the community with people that have come out with a spinal cord injury, and I'm in a team that is a large sort of interdisciplinary team. So we've got physios and occupational therapists and nurses and dietitians and psychologists, and for me, primarily working in spinal cord injury, I guess I'm really aware that when people come out to the community, it's massive. It's really huge, and making that adjustment to home and community is a really big thing. So yeah, as I said, my experience has been, so when people come out, they can be faced with what can seem like a wall of community health providers involved in their care, so it was while doing a literature review as part of my study, looking at qualitative studies that explored community reintegration, that some of the comments made by participants in those studies really captured my attention. Oh God, sorry. Hold on. So in these studies, participants identified that they were unprepared, anxious, and lacking psychological support, and they perceived health professionals as not being client-centred, so limiting their control and leaving them with a sense of powerlessness. Okay, so those of us obviously that work with people in the community with spinal cord injury obviously want to help these individuals as they reintegrate back into their homes and communities. So positive interactions with health professionals is obviously really important. So the purpose of this part of my, last part of my postgraduate study was to examine interactions between community health providers and individuals with spinal cord injury in the early stage following discharge from the spinal unit. And the focus was broadened from health professionals to health providers to capture funders and care agencies, so to better sort of examine the range of services that someone might tap into when they return home. So we used individual semi-structured interviews with 6 people with spinal cord injury who lived in the Canterbury region, and to allow them sort of more time to reflect on that experience, but still to be quite fresh, we kept it within the first 5 years following discharge from inpatient rehabilitation. So 3 males and 3 females, aged between 50 and 72 years of age, were interviewed. All chose to be interviewed at home. A qualitative approach using thematic analysis was used. So the interviews were taped and transcribed, and then the data was systematically examined. So 3 themes were identified in the data, and these 3 themes led to an overarching theme of empowerment. So I'll go through those 3 themes and then on to that overarching theme. So the first theme was understanding of processes and systems. So participants identified the overwhelming nature of the transition from the spinal unit to the community and recognised that they may not have been fully cognizant of all that was happening. As a result, their ability to retain information may have been compromised. Knowing how to access systems and services wasn't always clear, and along with this, communication of the time frames in which things happened wasn't always clear. Participants were surprised at the length of time it took for housing modifications to be completed, or for the delivery of specialised equipment, so customised wheelchairs or beds or whatever. So all the participants went into temporary accommodation following discharge from the spinal unit, and all perceived the process around housing to be quite drawn out. In fact, one participant at the time of interview was still in a motel unit, which was 14 months post-discharge. Participants identified the need for clearer explanation and communication of the roles and responsibilities and boundaries of various community health providers. Some were confused over roles, for example, what difference perhaps the physiotherapist and occupational therapist played in the community, or perhaps not understanding why there might have been more than one occupational therapist involved, which might have been for really practical reasons, because there's often a large number of, as Liam knows, a large number of things that need to be dealt with, whether it's wheelchair seating, transport, housing. So obviously it's more time efficient to have more involved, but it just took a wee while for people to sort of understand kind of how it all fit together, really. Okay. The second theme was knowing what is available. So a consistent theme by the participants was that they lack knowledge of services that might have been available to them. An example for one participant was that they weren't aware that they could have a community-based nurse come and visit and review their consumables to see if they had the right products or the right quantities of products, and when that was available to them, they found that really helpful. The benefits of being able to share experience and knowledge with other individuals with spinal cord injury was a consistent theme with all the participants. The third theme was continuity of care. So participants described a sudden loss of continuity with support and care that they clearly weren't prepared for after being in the supported environment in the spinal unit to what they described as an abrupt transition back to life in the community. They described feeling unsupported, scared, and for some out of control. However, once they were established at home, having consistency of people coming in to assist with daily tasks like showering, dressing with transfers, meal preparation, household cleaning, was really important to allow the individual to get on with daily life and daily activities. Another participant reported really good continuity with the physiotherapist and occupational therapist she'd worked with in the community, and felt that had really helped her in adapting to living with a spinal cord injury. So these three themes of understanding of processes and systems, knowing what is available, and in continuity of care when drawn together can be constructed towards an overarching theme of empowerment from having control, options, choice, and being able to get on with life. Empowerment was articulated clearly by one participant who, through sort of understanding of processes and systems, it allowed her to take control of her life. I feel 100% more empowered. I know that if I want things to work out, well, I have to take control of the situation and deal with it myself. So while the participants had all gained a sense of empowerment, they described this as happening through practical experience rather than being a purposeful process. And interestingly, that this has been investigated in the spinal cord injury population before. So two UK-based studies by Palat proposed that health providers examine their practice to see if they are being purposeful in facilitating empowerment through a purposive partnership of sharing knowledge and expertise, in order that individuals with spinal cord injury can take an active role over their life and situation. Another study by Vandervelde et al. Examined autonomy, or the ability to have self-rule in the period of transition from hospital to home, and proposed that health providers can assist in this period of transition by helping to develop self-rule. And I mean, certainly the desire to have control or autonomy was reflected by the participants in our study. So what is the perspective of our study in the New Zealand context? Obviously there are some challenges to generalising the results of the study. It was only conducted in one geographical region, and taken from an older population who were available at the time of recruitment for the study. While the study sort of contributes to the body of knowledge on community reintegration, obviously it'd be really good to know what would be the experiences of young people with spinal cord injury. Until recently, little had been published in New Zealand about community reintegration, but over the last 7 years or so, there have been studies and commentaries exploring aspects such as participation, transition to the community, return to work, and John Burke, another researcher that many of us probably know, he published a paper which examined the experience of rehabilitation following tetraplegia, and commented that participants desired to gain some form of mastery and control over their circumstance, and the importance of acquiring information and knowledge to achieve this. And that certainly supports the findings that we had from our study as well. A collaboration between ACC and the Ministry of Health called the New Zealand Spinal Cord Impairment Action Plan 2014 to 2019, which many of you will obviously be aware of, was developed with input from hospital and community based health providers, as well as researchers and individuals with spinal cord injury. You know, the plan advocates for improved communication of systems and processes to people. It also endorses the need to improve the continuum between the inpatient and community setting, as well as strengthening coordination of community and spinal rehabilitation services, as well as aligning services between ACC and the Ministry of Health. And in view of our findings, this is a really positive proposal to address some of the issues identified by our participants. For the first time ever, we now have a registry for individuals who have sustained spinal cord impairment, and as many of you will know, again, the Rick Hansen Spinal Cord Registry went live on the 1st of August last year, and this registry will give really valuable information about the life journey and needs for this population. So what are the take-home messages from the study? There wasn't anything particularly earth-shattering about these findings, but clearly there's still some really important messages there that need to be reinforced. You know, the findings suggest that we need to make sure our communication of processes and sharing of knowledge enables individuals with spinal cord injury to have control as they transition back to their communities. It suggests the need to ensure continuity of services and consistency with care at home to allow individuals to get on with life. Individuals with spinal cord injury seek to be empowered to have control over their life and situation. You know, can we purposely facilitate that to happen? And finally, perhaps as clinicians, researchers, care provider agencies, end users, we can reflect on these findings of those we work alongside, and even consider the application for other conditions or injuries of individuals that we work with that they might have experienced. Thanks for listening. We'd like to thank our research participants for their contribution to the study. Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.